Hello and welcome, folks, to another great episode of part two of the series of The Art of Losing Weight. I am here sitting with the author, international speaker, expert in the art of losing weight, the one and only Mr. Robert Ceja. How you doing, sir? Welcome.
I'm well. Thank you, Carlos, for having me. Glad everybody is listening.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we spend as much time as possible because we got a lot of ground to cover. I wanted to make sure that you started also maybe reviewing a little bit about just maybe about a minute or so about our first episode from the first series and also what we're going to talk about today as well too, please.
Okay, let me talk about kind of what we've gone through. And basically, it's a weight reduction method that's called the IGEN process. And it basically consists of, if you can think of a mnemonic gate, a 3-2-1 process. There are three biological principles that underlie this method that are common to every human being, and we built the method upon that. And there are two operating principles that basically tell you how to approach the IGEN process. And then there is just the one method that is basically a method to lose weight, then do it again, then lose weight, then do it again. So that basically is kind of what I'm going to cover as far as the principles.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that. So let's get right to it, man. If you're ready, I'm ready. And I think our audience is ready to go. So let's start with the obvious question: The Art of Losing Weight, the book. Why the book?
Well, Carlos, mankind has a problem, and the problem is basically excess weight. We went from the 1950s, where the percentage of people that were overweight was 7-8%, and now it's 85%. So it may have to do with the fact that sugar is so prevalent in our diet, and not just sugar, but sugar in our products. So whatever that is, it accounts for we almost eat about close to 80 pounds more of sugar per year per individual than back then. So it's really simple that we're eating a lot of sugar in the form of a lot of products. And the problem is that it makes us feel bad. You know, it makes us feel helpless. And um, we worry about the quality of life. We worry that our life might be cut short. So I was at that point myself, that way about 8 years ago when I retired, and then learned about the FTO gene, which is the what underlies the desire to eat. And with my background in physiology and psychology and education, I created the IGEN process, which is uh, primarily to reduce your weight in a systematic manner week after week. So that's
Excellent.
pretty much why I wrote the book.
Great. Folks, if you're just joining us, welcome. We are here talking to the author of The Art of Losing Weight, Mr. Robert Ceja. On the bottom of your screen, you are seeing his website. It's the igenprocess.com. It's also on the banner above what we have going. His email is available and his cell phone is available as well. So there is no excuse, folks. You have every way you can connect with Mr. Ceja to ask him great questions on the art of losing weight. So with that said, you talked about why the book. So, to what do you attribute the effectiveness of the book or the
Well,
process?
Carlos, you know, the effectiveness of the book is because it resolves to tackle the problem directly instead of indirectly. Indirectly would be if you try to lose weight through exercise, through eating better. Those are indirect ways of losing weight. The direct way is go right to the root of the problem. If there is only one way to gain weight, which is eating, then there is only one place where you can tackle the problem effectively. Um, so the question is, how are you gaining weight? The question isn't how do you lose weight, but how do you gain weight? And that is the root of the problem. Because then once we figure out how the person is gaining weight, and remember, there's as many solutions as there are people, because each person is unique. So once you find out, or we find out how that person gains weight, then we can tinker with the biological processes. We can tinker with what the person can do and get the results that we want. So that is the pretty much why we're effective, because we go to the root of the problem.
Okay. So I've heard you mention the word indirectly before. So you mentioned exercise and nutrition. So what do you mean by indirectly? What does that mean?
Well, indirectly, if your goal is to be healthy, and that's what you want, then exercise and nutrition are the key. But that doesn't guarantee weight loss. But if your goal is to lose weight, then exercise and nutritionally minimally affect your weight, unless you do something about your intake and your food supply. So if you are trying to lose weight, you have to agree that you gain the weight first before you lose it. So the process really is, don't gain it. Instead of trying to lose it, just don't gain it. And that doesn't mean don't eat or anything. It just means to tackle your eating in a systematic way where you can do this. So for those people who find it difficult to exercise or to change diet because you really like your food, then this is the process to follow, because you deal with the weight directly, you lower it, and when you have a lower weight, there is probably more likelihood that you will want to do exercise or do things that really have to do with health and not with weight loss. So indirectly, I say indirectly because you have to do exercise and then wait to see what it did. And you have to eat healthy and then wait later to see what it did. And tackling it directly means don't put not that don't put all the weight on, but don't put the weight on that you want to take off. And there is a systematic way of doing that and finding out when it happens, how it happens, and tackle it in a very conscientious and aware way. So that's why, I mean, but we tackle it directly, not indirectly. So
Okay. So let's jump right into a topic. And the topic is, it's about weight and why it's never stable.
okay, you know, it's one of those things that are so simple to understand, yet because it's an automatic thing, we don't really notice it, and we don't go around weighing ourselves. But nobody's weight is stable, and this is the second biological principle of the IGEN process, that no one's weight is stable. If you weigh a certain amount X morning, let's say you weigh 150 pounds this morning, and you weigh 150 pounds tomorrow morning, then your weight, you can say that your weight is average 150. But after you had breakfast, your weight went up, and then it started to drop for a couple of hours. Then you ate again and your weight went up again. Then it started to drop a couple of hours more, and then it went up again. So, and the reason we lose a lot of weight overnight is because that's the largest amount of time that you are not eating, meaning you are not putting weight on. So how do we use this principle? Well, very easy. We either make the gain smaller by eating less, just a tiny bit less, and we make the drop steeper, not almost parallel, but that it drops steeper, meaning you lose weight faster if the person is willing to eat certain things. You can change the speed of the metabolism, which accounts for that weight. So we really go down and up and down and up. And people who snack, it's the same thing. They just eat less but the snack makes up for it, and our body keeps us within a very close range of the weight that we have. See, it used to be thought of that because that your weight came with your genes. That if you were a big person, that's
Right.
because you were programmed to be in gene, and so on. And and we call that well, the law of weight, or the but anyway, weight is actually a result of various factors of how much you eat, how much you exercise, what kind of food you eat, what kind of patterns do you observe in eating, do you eat more at night or do you eat more in the morning? All of these things have a result on weight. So if we tinker with all of this in a systematic way where we are in touch with the person, with the student, and then we can very easily weed out those things that cause weight gain and institute more of the things that lead to loss. You know, when they asked Michelangelo how he sculpted David, he said, "Oh, it was very easy. I just chipped away everything that didn't look like David." So
Interesting.
in a certain way, we know what our behavior is and where we want to go. So when we chip away at behavior, we chip away at that behavior that's not leading us towards our desired goals. Um, uh, so that is the thing. Now, I had a chart, but I'm still not proficient at showing the chart. But it's when you tinker with the person's rate of loss, with their metabolism, which we can affect it. And when we tinker, meaning the person can tinker with the amount of food that they eat, those two simple things will 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 take you to an average weight less than what the average weight is. Because um, well, anyway, it's hard to describe the chart, but that's basically how we work with the tendency of the body to go up and down, up and down, up and down in weight, and start off every day going up and down, up and down. So when we map that up and down in terms of food, and that's what the food log does, and we map the weight because that's what the weight log does, then we can really look at a cause and effect. We see what causes one to go up, what causes the other one to go down. So that basically is the second principle of the biological principles of the IGEN process.
So if you're talking
So
about charts, I think that the next question would actually apply to that. And it's you've talked a little bit about it, but so how do you use all of this data that you're working with, to get to the maximized results?
well, what we do is with the help of the student, we map out what the student eats and how they eat and what time they eat and where they eat. And so when we map that out, it becomes an awareness thing. And all I'm doing is making the person aware of how they're gaining weight with the data, because the data says, look, on Friday you had this party, and look at your weight the next day, it went up. Or look at when you hardly had this. We can see that. That's why I say that this program is basically an educational program. Once you learn how you lose weight, you have the key to increase or decrease at will. But you have to understand what brings is decreases. So um, the data is to show the reality between what I am saying and what they are experiencing. If I say, look, don't eat a lot of, don't eat the carbs that you've been eating at night because you were having cake or cookies, but eat something else that is not carbs, and your metabolism will speed up. And then the next morning, they see that in effect, they lost more weight than the previous. night, then that's how I use the data. I don't
Okay.
want anybody to just believe me because I said it and I claim to be an expert. That is not my MO. My MO is to show the person what's happening, ask them what do they want to happen, and then explore the many ways that we can get to the same goal. You don't have to, you can skip a whole lunch or a whole meal and you've taken up a good percentage of your food. You can take off only 10% of everything on your plate, or you can choose to, there's many ways as there are ways of eating. People can find ways to move in the right direction that's going to show up on the scale. So
Excellent.
that's how we use the data, Carlos.
So, I also one of the things that I know we've discussed before, and I know it comes up for a lot of us folks, is that what if you're eating for emotional reasons?
Um, Carlos, that is a human condition. It's not that some people eat for emotional reasons and others don't. It's that eating is a pleasurable event to the body, to your brain, to yourself. So when you're feeling bad, you eat and you feel good. I mean, you can still feel bad because whatever happened happened, but there is a sense of there's a pleasure. I'm feeling good, and you eat. So, um, when you feel bad, you want to feel good, and eating feels good, so you feel good. That's what's behind emotional eating. Or when you're stressed, same thing. You come here, you're stressed, and oh man, you wanna kick back. You wanna relax your brain. You wanna treat your body. Nothing better than a nice meal or a piece of pie or something that hits you. So it's not a question of what if you eat for emotional reasons. Most people eat for emotional reasons. Some require nothing, to eat. They some just want to feel good and they eat everything they see out there. Other people really are feeling bad and they need the pickup. So here's the thing: if you eat for emotional reasons, work it in. I don't want to take away a support that you have for when you have problems, but there are many times of the day you're not emotional all day. There's many times of the day that there are things that you will be able to do that you can account for the emotional eating. If you had a binge, or if you just decided you were just going to have a great time today, you can account for that because you can make up for it. But you're not going to make up for it naturally. You have to have a plan that if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to go back to this. Now, here's a problem with emotional eating, that while you're eating, it feels good and it feels nice, and you're chewing and your flavor buds are exploding and your trigeminal nerve is feeling the fat going in from the chips and everything is hunky dory, and then you swallow. That's it. No more good feeling. The good
That's
feeling is in the eating, not in the being full. So what do? You restart the feeling with another mouthful or another chip. So that's a problem with it's emotional eating. There's no signal to stop. So, and you just go until you're full. And if that's what happens, then that's what happens. But when you do recognize emotional eating, or you do recognize your stress, the strategy would be, well, take a bite, make it feel good, and coast on that as long as you can before you take the other one. So emotional eating is a problem because we are humans and we do thrive on emotion, but you can't just will it away. You really have to work with it. But you know, if If you're emotional all the time and you're eating all the time, then there's a different problem there. It's not just a weight problem now. So that's how I see the the emotionality component of gaining weight.
Awesome.
But
And I also want to take a moment because I know that we're towards the tail end of the show, but I want to make sure that our listeners get a few parting tips from you before we go. So we covered quite a lot, regarding about your book. You mentioned exercise and nutrition. We've talked about how weight is never stable, how you utilize some of that data. We just finished talking about emotional reasons, but I want to leave this last part of the show, the last few minutes we have, to see if you can share with us some parting tips.
Well, let me give you two of them. One is, if you're listening here, weigh yourself at night, and then weigh yourself at the morning. Just confirm that there's a big weight loss there, more than a pound for sure, pound and a half. Okay, and the other one is, and I mentioned it earlier, that if you like your carbs, your sweets, eat your carbs in the morning. It gives you the whole day to burn them. When you eat your carbs at night, no opportunity to burn them. They just settle in and make themselves at home. So that would be a tip. Change what you eat at night to more protein and fat kind of things, and I think you'll see a difference.
So what you're saying is no ice cream at nighttime, right?
No ice cream in the nighttime with cookies, unless you're prepared to make a big sacrifice the next day.
Right. That's awesome.
But yeah, that's basically what it is.
So, hey, Robert, I want to thank you again, man, for providing this series for a lot of us who are really looking at different options, not only, in health, mindset, and all of that, but I think your book is really hitting a lot of target points with folks about the art of losing weight. And we value your expertise on that. Do you want to tell us really quick what the next process that we're going to be talking about next week in part 3 of our series?
What we're going to be talking about next week is probably one of the most dear to the heart of people, because it concerns yo-yo dieting. And yo-yo dieting is a perfectly natural response of the organism to you depriving it of what it rightfully thinks it should be getting in terms of amount or what you feed it. So that's a big one. If you have had problem with yo-yo dieting, then this one would be of great interest, because it shows you the yo-yos. It shows you both of the yos separate. And the first one's very easy. The yo that drops is a yo that goes up. That is a totally different type of a process, and that is where we intervene. So it'll be interesting to you, and you'll probably recognize a lot of. If you've yo-yo dieted, you'll probably recognize a lot of things we'll be talking about. But yeah, hang in there for next week, and next week we'll complete all of the biological foundations for the IGEN process.
Okay. Well, thanks, Robert. I appreciate you, again, taking the time, educating folks on the art of losing weight. Folks, we're going to do this series 3. Like Robert said, it's a very crucial part of the series. Make sure you tune in next Thursday at 4:30. We're going to be here. If you have questions, please put them on the chat, submit them. Robert would be more than happy to address some of this, but you don't want to miss next week's show. Robert, thanks again for your time, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Great. You have a great day and week.
Take care.
All right.